Hello and welcome to our first Facebook Live show on the Spark Accounting page. We are so excited to be here. My name, who am I? You're probably wondering who the heck I am on this page. My name is Jennifer Quinn. I'm the host of the Jenny Q Show. I'm also a live stream consultant. And what I do is I help businesses leverage live streaming to build their voice and to really get out there and share their knowledge and their message with the world. And I'm super excited that I get to be here on Spark Accounting Solutions' very first Facebook Live show, because our guest has some amazing information to share with you, with business owners. And before we get started, I see that we have some viewers watching live. If you could do me a favor and please go ahead and leave a comment, just a simple comment. Just tell us where you're watching from. I'd love to give you a shout out and get your questions ready. It's as easy as just posting your questions in the comments, and then we'll be able to ask those with our guest as we go on the interview. If we happen to not have time for all of your questions, that's okay, because our guest is going to go back in and make sure she answers all of them in the comments. So no worries there. So now it's time to bring on our guest. Oops, before we do, yay. So sorry, there's a delay in the comments. So I don't know when the comments are going to come in. We have Carrie Ann here. Hello, Carrie Ann, welcome. And Scott Newland is watching from Boise, Idaho. Great to have you. So our guest today is actually the owner and founder of Spark Accounting Solutions. She is a Profit First professional, a QuickBooks Pro advisor. She has so many designations behind her name. There's no way I could name them all, but she is a CPA, a CMA, so many. She's been working with businesses of all sizes for over 20 years, and it's just such a joy and delight to bring her on. Everybody join me in welcoming Julie Babcock. Hi, Julie.
Hello, thanks so much for hosting today.
Yeah, my pleasure. I'm actually really excited about this. So tell us a little bit about what got you into accounting. I know you really, really love it, but tell us why you love it.
Absolutely. I love accounting, and I love what I'm doing right now because I get to help small business owners figure out what their numbers mean and actually do something with them to make more money.
Oh, great. To make more money. It's just that easy?
You know what? If you understand your numbers, you know what changes you need to make. And if you understand what you need to do, it's a lot easier to move forward and make more money than when you don't get what your numbers are saying to you.
That makes perfect sense. And so a lot of people are afraid of numbers, though. Do you have any idea why?
I think there's a couple things. One, most people didn't start their business to deal with their numbers. They started their business because they're passionate about whatever it is they do, whether they're a drywaller, whether they are, a marketing person. Most people don't love the number side of their business, and so they don't like to look at it. And, everybody says accounting is the language of business, and it is kind of its own language. And so you need to have somebody that can explain what that is and translate it into words that make sense to you.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. Now, I'm a business owner, and to be honest with you, what you said perfectly describes me. The numbers make my head hurt. So I love people like you who do it for me. So one of the things, like I've heard over the past couple of years, there's a book out, Profit First, right?
Right.
Is that what we're talking about?
Absolutely. We are talking about Profit First today, and what it can do to actually increase profits for your small business.
Excellent. And so what I find interesting about the topic of this show is that you suggest that traditional accounting might actually be cutting into your profits. What do you mean by that?
Well, there's obviously a problem going on with the way that we're doing accounting for small businesses right now. The SBA did a study a while ago, and out of 28 million small businesses, 23 million of them were break even. So they're not profitable. And so obviously we're not doing something right, because all of us that are in business want to be making money, right?
Right,
so,
of course, right.
Yeah, so the things that are happening that are causing problems, I think, for businesses is, one, they aren't looking at their numbers regularly because they're busy running their business. And so oftentimes I see small business owners who are only looking back at their numbers, whether it's monthly, whether it's quarterly, whether it's, some people don't even know if they've made any money until the end of the year when they go in to see their tax accountant.
Wow.
And that's a problem. The other problem with traditional accounting is the magic formula that we all know. We all know that sales minus expenses equals profits, right?
Right.
That's not a new formula to anybody. But the problem with that formula is that suddenly profit becomes a leftover. We're not focused on profit. We wait and see whether we're going to have anybody at the end of, whether we're going to have any profits at the end of the year or not. And so because we're not focusing on profits, we're not making that the first thing we prioritize, they aren't always happening.
Okay, so very interesting. Very interesting that business owners are in business to make money, but making money is not at the forefront of their mind. Well, making money is, right, bringing in the revenue, but not the profit margin itself.
Exactly. So many people focus on what I call top line revenue. Let's get the sales. Let's make another sale. Let's make another sale. But they don't focus on, once that money comes in, what are we doing with that? Is it covering our expenses? Do we have expenses we don't need? Is it covering our costs even? And people don't look at that. They're so focused on that top line sales number.
So would you call it a mindset shift then that has to take place, or are there actually actionable steps that need to take place?
Well, I think one of the first things, mind shift wise, that needs to happen is we need to flip that formula around. So right now, sales minus expenses equals profits. The magic formula in profit first, which is not going to be amazing when I tell you this, it's going to make sense, is sales minus profits first, equals expenses. So what we're doing is we're basically reverse engineering, and we are saying when we make sales, we're going to set aside 5%, we're going to set aside 10%, we're going to set aside some percentage to go into profits automatically so that we are generating profits, not just generating sales. And then we have the expenses are the leftover. Profits become our priority.
Amazing. What an amazing shift. And it almost sounds like it's a little bit like, well, duh, right?
Exactly. And a lot of people look at that and they're like, well, it's the same thing. What are you talking about? How does that make a difference? And I want you to think about, if you're at home and you've got, a spouse or somebody that has a W-2 job, and let's say they decide that they're going to put 1 or 2% more in their 401k plan for the year.
Right.
Okay? That money comes in, it goes away, you never see it, kind of like us setting aside profit, but somehow your family still manages to live on that same amount, on the new amount of money, right? It's not, you're saving more, but you kind of reverse engineer what you have to live off of. You make some small changes in your day-to-day habits so that you can still survive and feed everybody.
And so what you're suggesting is you translate that into your business model?
Exactly. So, we're basically saying, hey, we are going to bring in our sales, we're going to set aside these profits, and we're actually going to set them aside in another bank account. And so that's one of the things that's interesting about Profit First is we actually have some specific bank accounts that we use. But what happens when we put that money aside and we put our money intentionally into buckets that we need, we all know that we want profit, right? We all know that we want to pay ourselves as the business owner.
Right.
We all know that if we have a profitable business, we're going to have to pay taxes. And then that last piece is operating expenses. So with Profit First, we actually have 5 different bank accounts. One that all of our revenue goes in. We've got one that we set aside profit in. And P.S. with Profit First, we also get to take a quarterly profit distribution to actually celebrate and bring some of the fun back into being a small business owner.
Love that part.
Yes, I think a lot of small business owners get to celebrate their successes. Right. And so implementing Profit First automatically helps us by, setting aside that profit, but also celebrating the fact that we're doing it on a quarterly basis. And, you know, when people are starting out, sometimes that's as little as, hey, I'm going to go to the coffee shop and drink a cup of coffee and celebrate the fact that I actually implemented this and I can afford this cup of coffee on the business.
Nice.
And other people, once they've been doing it for a while, are, you know, taking their dream vacations or whatever they want to do with that money. So that has a lot of power, I think, for small business owners for that success.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but so we end up with these 5 buckets, and those 5 buckets help us figure out what we actually have available to allocate. And so I like to talk a lot about, you know, introducing, you know, kind of scarcity in the business. So the reason I like to talk about introducing scarcity is because that scarcity is what helps us with those operating expenses. How do we innovate? How do we run our business still on less money? We do it with our family when we have, you know, less money through when somebody's contributing more to the 401k plan, but we can do it with our business as well too, and figure out where we can cut costs, where our revenue needs to be in order to take care of profit and owner's pay and taxes.
Okay, so it sounds, I'm going to say it sounds pretty simple, even for somebody who makes, like, who gets headaches from numbers, right?
Yes.
Before we go on to the next question, I want to give a shout out. We've got some viewers here. I can see the numbers, but I can't see who's watching. So I'd love to give you an individual shout out. Simply just leave a comment in the chat while you're watching, or if you have a question, if you want a clarification, go ahead and leave that question in the comments as well. And if we have time, we'll get to it. If not, Julie will jump back in afterwards and go in and answer everybody's questions. And so Julie, what I want to know from you next is, how is this formula switching? What are the actual steps that a business owner has to take?
Yeah, perfect. So the first step to implementing Profit First is really opening those 5 bank accounts.
Okay.
And figuring out how much you need to allocate to each of these different buckets. Now, in the book,
can you, as we're talking about this, can you give us a little compartment to put them in, like name what the 5 accounts are?
Yeah. So revenue, profit.
Okay.
Owner's pay.
Wait, what was that?
Owner's pay.
Owner's pay, okay.
Tax.
Okay.
And operating expenses.
Okay, all right.
So those are the 5 basic accounts. And so talking a little bit more about, you know, how do we work these? So the whole idea behind Profit First is that there are target allocation percentages. You allocate your money out to these different buckets at least twice a month. It's really not hard. And the beautiful thing about Profit First is that it really ties into our natural human behaviors as small business owners. So let me ask you this. You're a small business owner. When you need to make a spending decision,
yes.
If you're trying to say, can I get this? Can I not get this? Where's the first place you look? Do you go to your accounting records or do you go to your bank account?
Oh, without question, I go to the bank account.
Exactly. And that is a very normal behavior. And so what we want to do is be able to see visually when we look at our bank accounts, hey, I've only got this much left to spend on operating expenses. Because it's not uncommon for small business owners, I see this all the time, to get to April 15th and find out that they have a tax bill and have nothing set aside for it.
Right.
I also find a lot of small business owners who don't pay themselves their fair share. They end up paying their employees more than they're paying themselves. And that's a problem because ultimately you are the most important employee of your business. If you weren't there, the business wouldn't exist, and you probably deserve to be compensated for that work.
Well, and that aside, aren't there I don't know if it's tax laws or IRS regulations or whatever that actually mandate that the owner has to take a certain amount of pay?
Yeah, depending on what type of entity you are set up as, you may have reasonable compensation rules that you need to follow. So that definitely can come into play. But so we want to make sure we're taking care of those things.
Right. That makes perfect sense. So we had a comment. Alicia said, we have 2, I'm guessing she means accounts. Guess we need to open some more. And I know we've talked about that before.
Yes.
So
my magic number is at least 5.
Okay. How long does it actually take for the time that a business owner hears the concept of profit first accounting to switch from traditional accounting to profit first and be fully like operational in it? Like, what's the ramp up time?
It usually takes up to a month, because when you start thinking about opening these additional bank accounts, you've got to, if you're going to put your revenue into a new account, if you've got merchant service accounts, you've got to get those changed and directed to this new place. You have to, order new endorsement stamps for when your clients are paying you by checks. You may have to order new check stock if you're opening a new operating expense account so that you can pay your bills out of that. So that startup time, the biggest startup time is trying to get those new accounts set up and operational.
Okay, that makes sense.
The rest of it is not too bad. There's some time that we spend kind of looking at what should my target allocation percentages be, and it's really, the nice thing about that is the book actually makes some suggestions for you based on the size of your business. So if you don't want to spend a bunch of time trying to figure out and customize it for your own business, you can start with the standard ones for a business of your size and tweak it from there.
Yeah, that's really kind of exciting. You know what the method reminds me of is like I would have my kids budget and have envelopes for each of their things, and they had to put long-term savings and short-term savings, and this is what they could spend, and it's just grown-up envelopes.
Well, exactly. I mean, the envelope method has been around forever, right? I think everybody's grandma had an envelope.
Right.
Or 2 laying around.
Right.
And so now instead of envelopes, we're doing this for businesses, and we're using our different bank accounts to help structure where we're spending money and help us spend less. And
Right.
a lot of people, the concept kind of makes sense, but the understanding of the human behavior and the psychology behind it doesn't make sense, because it's just like, well, I have the same amount of money. How is this going to help me spend less? So I'm going to talk about that a little bit. There's a law out there called Parkinson's law. Parkinson was a guy that studied human behavior.
Okay.
And everybody knows, if I give you 4 days to do a project, or I give you 4 weeks to do a project, how long is it going to take you to get that project done? If I gave you 4 days, it takes
4 days.
If I give you 4 weeks and it's the same project, it takes
4 weeks. Right.
weeks. Same thing if you go, if you've got a $5,000 vacation budget, you're going to spend it all. If you've got a $7,000 vacation budget, you're going to spend it all. If you've got a $1,000 vacation budget, you're going to go camping and you're going to spend it all, right?
Absolutely.
So that is our natural human behavior. And what Parkinson's law says is basically that as humans, whatever resources are given to us, we tend to use them all up. And so we are actually leveraging that normal behavior for us by creating a visual to say, here's our operating expense account. This is all I have. You're still probably going to use it all up, but now we have these other accounts that are hidden from you and are saving you from spending them so that you have those for the security of your business, the security of your family, and to take care of the man come April 15th.
That makes perfect sense. That really makes perfect sense. What keeps someone from robbing from, this account to that account?
It happens. It's not supposed to happen in Profit First.
Right.
The reason, the first time that you don't have enough money in your operating expense account, that is the sign that there's something not working with your business.
Okay.
You're not able to meet your profitability goals. You're not able to pay yourself enough. And so we encourage people not to rob from your other buckets to pay for operating expenses, because the only person you're cheating is yourself and potentially your tax authorities that you have to pay. But a lot of times the other thing that helps people to stay out of that is the profit account and the tax account. we generally put those at another bank entirely. So when you log into your bank to check your balance,
yes,
you see the ones that are available to you to spend.
Oh, that's brilliant. That is brilliant. Yeah, control your environment. You know, it's interesting too, because it feels to me like it would take a little bit of practice, but it's just creating new habits.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, this really is a habit. People think of profit as kind of an event that happens at the end of the year right now. You know, when you finally get your financials or you finally get your taxes, you figure out if you were profitable or not. You look at the piece of paper and you look at the bottom number. But this turns profit into a habit that you're doing monthly, twice a month, weekly, whatever allocation periods you decide to do. We recommend at least twice a month, but it's a habit that's happening ongoing, and you are consistently making yourself profitable at least twice a month.
Perfect. I love it. We do have a question here I wanted to cover. Alicia asks, should an operating expense account include payroll, or should payroll be separate?
So that's a great question. With the B3 Profit First Plan, we start out with 5 accounts, and payroll would get paid out of that operating expense account. However, a lot of businesses like to have a separate payroll account, partly just for controls over the cash, but also if it's helpful to you to have another account to track your fund availability, we often encourage you to go ahead and add an account. If you look at my own, I've got an account for continuing education. I've got an account for marketing. Those are pieces that I like to have broken out so I can see so I can easily see what's available to me. And if payroll is something that's helpful to you to see what that is, what's available, absolutely open another account so that you can see it. You will never hear a Profit First professional say, don't open an account. Other people will look at you like you're crazy, but it's okay.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. So what kinds of shifts have you seen? Well, first, how long have you been a Profit First professional?
I've been a Profit First professional for about a year and a half.
Okay, and so you've been in business for 20 years with traditional accounting.
Yep.
And a year and a half, you've seen some businesses transform their profits, I'm assuming. What kind of case studies do you have or have you seen?
I've watched some of our clients go from, zero in the bank to tens of thousands of dollars in the bank over a few months just by
Okay, so Julie, I lost my audio, and I don't know if it's just on my end, or can you hear me, Julie? Okay, Alicia is saying she lost sound as well. And so something on Julie's end, we lost audio. Alicia, can you hear me? This is the beauty of live streaming, you guys. Like, you get to see it live. And so, yeah, so I love what you were saying, Julie, and I know we're going to do another one of these shows, and we're going to come back and fill in the blanks, but I want to make sure and show people where they can reach out to you and get more information. Okay, so let's see, Alicia is saying she can hear me. That's great. So head over to sparkaccountings.com, sparkaccountings.com, and that's where you are going to get more information. Just scroll down to the middle of the page, and what you're going to find is there's a place to sign up to get the core chapters of the Profit First book to learn more about methods. So you're going to get core chapters, free, Spark Accounting Solutions, and then Julie Babcock Hyde over at Spark Accounting Solutions, who's on our screen, but you can't hear her because of tech issues. And honestly, this is the part about live video that I love, because you see that it's not scripted and it's not canned or scanned. And so head on over there. We heard a little blur from you, Julie. But let's go ahead and wrap this up. You guys leave a comment, leave a message if you're watching live or replay. Julie's super helpful and will be willing to join in there and interact with you there. All right, Julie, thanks so much for your time. Thanks for your wisdom and experience. And I can't wait to hear about more of your case studies with your clients. So I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye, everybody.